On today's episode, we are joined by Jacques Swanepoel, founder of StorageHive, a company focused on cloud and recovery. Jacques, welcome.
Thank you, Maxim.
So, can you walk us through your background and what led you to start this business?
Yeah, so I actually started my career in electronic engineering, and part of that, I actually had to program some EPROMs as an electronic engineer, and I found like actually doing the programming part was more interesting. So I actually pivoted to software engineering early in my career, and I did that for about 20 years. And then it was really working in a company called eVault that actually focused on cloud backup and disaster recovery as their core technology. I'm actually also author of one of the patents that they founded for the company. And it's from there that kind of bootstrapped also how I ended up in my StorageHive company later, is that I saw opportunity to take this technology and deliver it to SMB customers.
Nice. And in your role right now in the business, what's your role? Are you still the tech guy? Are you more decision maker? Where are you positioned in your business?
Yeah, so the way I like to explain it is I'm an entrepreneur by heart, which is really just like shortcut for saying like, hey, I do like 15 things at the same time because that's what you do as an entrepreneur. But
Yeah.
I'm definitely technology orientated. So I'm a technical entrepreneur is what I would describe myself as. And I do also typically do some fractional CTO work for companies as well on the technical side, but I'm an entrepreneur kind of first and foremost.
Okay. Was it easy to do the switch from like the tech guy to the business guy? Because it's two different skill set to learn. How was that gap? Was it pretty easy to solve?
Uh, I would say it's easy for the right person.
Yeah.
It's something that you want to do, right? You kind of see like, hey, I don't trust this other person. He's not doing it right. If you kind of want to build a business, you got to do it right your way. And it was more kind of out of need than anything else. And then kind of once you start doing that and enjoying it, it just becomes like I call not an entrepreneur. I'm building businesses as a kind of like a design.
Nice. And your business is really focused on recovery after disasters, or where's your business?
Well, so we do both. So
Okay.
and in fact, you kind of have to have our backup services first before we can actually help you with the recovery. Because if we don't have your data backed up first, then we have nothing to recover with.
Yeah.
And so, but we do both. We're not just cloud backups. When the customer then do actually end up in it, and there's a lot of companies that just do backups and they actually don't provide the recovery services.
Huh.
We do both. So we help customers with the backup. And then of course, especially when you work with a small business customer, like a dental office, airline agency, they don't know how to, deal with computers, right? And we certainly, that's one of our add-on values is we'll completely help the customer with full recovery. Even if it's like temporary, recover to our data centers, they can run from there while they buy new hardware, fix whatever problem they need to fix to recover their on-prem systems. We'll navigate them through that entire process.
And you just mentioned that you actually needed to know their data to do the recovery. So how do you recover a business that you just get called to do the recovery on it? Do you have to, how do you retrieve those data to then be able to recover that business?
Yeah, I've been over the years, I've had a few companies that's called me where they have like a hard drive crash and they've asked if I can recover the data from the failed hard drive. There are businesses that actually do specialize in kind of like low-level disk recoveries. We don't provide that service. And I normally refer them to one of those companies. If they don't have backups, but they have a failed hard drive and they need to recover the data, there are some companies that do specialize in that. It is rare that they can actually, because if you had like a head crash, the platters was like actually scratched and it could be like really difficult to recover any useful data off it. But there are companies that do specialize. They have like clean labs and they open up the drives, they replace components and they try to retrieve what they can retrieve. But that's not something we do. We highly recommend customers do your backups first with us. So when you have a problem, it's then also easy to recover and we'll ensure that we actually have all your data.
So whenever one of those experience or incident actually happen, is there like one of the first thing that you guys bring up as to the business so that they can realize what they were misunderstood from the backup?
Well, yeah, I mean, they certainly know at that point because
Yeah.
they can't access their systems. So now they understand the impact of not having the backups and trying to figure out how to recover it. And they've probably already spoken to 2 or 3 other companies, and they probably all said, "Oh, sorry, we can't help you. You
Yeah.
didn't back up your data." So they're a well-educated customer at that point. But unfortunately, if we didn't do the backups beforehand, there's nothing we can do other than refer them to like a low-level disaster recovery company. There's nothing we can do to help them at that point.
But do people think they're actually protected whenever they're only using like Microsoft or those like Google Workspace? Do they think their data is all protected and everything is good to go? Like, what's the mindset of those businesses?
Well, yeah. So I would say, for on-site servers, some customers, I can kind of say, well, you should have backed up. But yes, that is a good point. So for companies that are in the cloud, where Microsoft and Google, all the cloud providers, they do offer protection. But there's the classic line: the devil is in the details, right? So I'll kind of use like an insurance analogy to explain the situation. Is when you have life insurance, for example, I mean, the point of that is, in case something happens to you, your family will be taken care of financially, right? But if you only have, say, like life insurance, death insurance, and you die, it will pay out. But what happens when you're critical illness or something else that prevents you from working? Well, that's called critical illness insurance, right? It's a different type insurance that you also should have, but it's different from life insurance. So the problem with the cloud protection is Microsoft doesn't do a good job of telling you exactly what's included in that service. And to clarify, what they provide is they provide the infrastructure protection. So if there's a problem with their network or one of their hard drive fails, they would ensure that the infrastructure is protected. What they don't protect is the actual data inside your environment. So a good example, you have like a bad employee or a malicious network admin, and he starts going into the mailboxes or into your OneDrive, Google Drive, and he starts deleting all the documents. And especially if he knows like about the 30-day retention thing, and he like maliciously do it over like 6 months, a year, and then leaves your company, and you go, it's like, where's all the data? You call up Microsoft, they're gonna say, well, the environment's up. There's nothing we can do. Where's your backup? And I say, well, no, but you're protecting us. I say, well, no, it's in our SLA. If you read the SLA, it says there, you're responsible for backing up your data. So yes, there is like, devil in the details as far as what that protection really means and what the responsibility is for the business owner.
And do business owner actually know that, or whenever you tell them, it's always
very few? Pretty much, I would say 98% of businesses probably assume, especially on the SMB space where they're non-sophisticated, just assume, oh, it's in Microsoft, they're taking care of everything. If it's in their cloud, they're responsible, right? They literally just, because it's all the legal documentation, right? Nobody reads that. So it is a massive education problem, right?
So is it mostly like whenever you get into a business, it's mostly education towards the employees or the CEOs on how to actually bring those backups there, or it's really more implementation of those backups, or both? Like what is it most?
Yeah, it's usually step one. With a smaller customer, we would normally go with them and say, are you aware of this is how Microsoft works? The infrastructure is protected, but the contents is not. You should have a backup. And we actually send them the URL in the Microsoft SLA. It's you're responsible for your own backups. And then they usually go, oh, okay, yeah, no, I should have backups. So that kind of, from that point, it makes the conversation really easy once we reach out. But it's rare for companies to call us saying like, hey, I want backups beforehand. We kind of have to do the reach out. But once we do the education with them and they realize how they are vulnerable, they then are interested to have a conversation to come on board with our services.
And do you make them realize that whenever with like testing their system, like just sending like a false attack or a false ransomware on their systems to actually show them their defense is like not there, their backup is not there? Like how do you make them realize that like 100%? So they
I literally just send them the legal in the SLA scroll down to page 50, paragraph 3, and I'll copy paste the section, but I'll have the link so they can verify it is like the original text. So I just literally take Microsoft's own documentation. It's like they tell you to do your backups, right? So it's easy from that perspective.
Nice. And coming back,
I typically don't like do what they would call like white hat hacker attacks, like infiltrator systems. There are some companies that do that. We don't use that approach. We just kind of use education as the main, like the non-invasive education as our approach.
I understand. And I think coming back to there's a lot of small businesses, medium businesses getting attacked like in the past couple of years, I guess. Have you seen that number getting way up for the ransomware like attacks, or what kind of acts is getting to those small and medium businesses that you've seen increase in the last couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. So specifically, because traditionally, small, medium businesses, for if it's budget reasons or, or just non-sophistication, in general, in the past, they have not had adequate, cybersecurity and backups or anything else in place. And the hackers know that. So I would say the small and medium businesses are actually like disproportionately and more being targeted by the hackers than large businesses. But now large businesses with all their policies and security stuff, and especially if they're like a publicly traded company, I mean, they have policies and procedures like through the roof that they have to follow for all the protection and securities they have in place. So the hackers just don't target them because it's just too difficult to get in there. But the small, medium customers, and there's thousands of them, they are like actually intentionally being targeted. And the tools like Apollo and those kind of, sales navigator, you can find, like, give me all the businesses in the US that's, under 100 employees, give me a list. And I have the emails and I started attacking, right? It's even easy for the hackers to do it nowadays.
And is it mostly that kind of attack that works on them? Mostly just an email coming in and then just someone clicking on the link?
Yeah, so there are studies out there, and we kind of refer to it as the attack surface for what you're most vulnerable in. And I think the statistics is still like in the high 90s%, as like the majority of the attacks is some kind of phishing, mostly email, but there are now some like phone calls coming in, especially with AI. There's now phone calls coming in. Hey, I need this thing. Go to this website, click on this thing. There's some of that going on, but yeah, it's still some kind of phishing attack for sure. Most of it's delivered via email, but there are some voice and other scams with AI power now coming in, but it's all mostly phishing attacks of some form, faking out somebody you think you know.
Nice. And I think I had another conversation with a cybersecurity company, and they brought me a big number around like 80% or something like that of small businesses that get attacked never recover from it. Like they just get out of business because it's like so hard to come back.
And I think that the rule is like within 2 years after they've had an attack, they're usually out of business. Yeah, it is significant because they just either their reputation gets hurt or the data gets leaked or the financial impact of actually doing the payout, if they go the payout route, it just damages them so much that, they just end up in a non-recoverable state at the end of it.
And from your experience with working with those businesses, do you see that number being accurate or no?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Oh, yeah. I agree with those numbers. I've seen it firsthand.
Wow. And how do you guys actually do the recovery of those businesses to make them try to come back and not go out of business, basically? Was the kind of game
with what we offer, if the customers we work with that are using our backups before they had an event, that's the key thing here. You must like life insurance, right? Like I can't call the life insurance company and say, hey, my husband died. Can I get some life insurance? Sorry, it's too late.
It's too late,
Well, that's before.
I understand.
Provide, they have our backup services. Yeah, those customers, we can recover them to our data center. We have standby machines where we can recover their environment and then they can run from our cloud while they repair whatever on-site services. Because sometimes even if the server itself is physically okay, but they had a ransom attack, you don't know which machines would affect us. You basically just like shut down everything in that environment. We recover them into our cloud from a clean backup. And actually our backups itself has an embedded antivirus scan as well. So we can normally tell them like, okay, 2 days ago is actually, we know for sure that's a clean point that we pick them to recover from. And recover to our cloud environment. They can run from there while we kind of clean up and repair their on-site servers. And then later on, over a weekend or something, we'll figure out the transition to then migrate all the machines from our cloud environment back to their on-site servers.
And do you see maybe a change in those like small and mid-sized businesses on like understanding that, or it's like you still kind of have to like play with the words and actually make them understand? Or do people actually start to understand that like small and medium businesses are getting attacked now?
Well, yeah, the visibility are increasing because if the business themselves have not been hurt, they usually know of a business friend or associate
Yeah.
that was impacted. So kind of word of mouth is certainly kind of making the awareness more prominent. But I would probably say like probably at least half the SMB customers out there is still not doing any backups.
Yeah. 100%. And then you have to actually tell them the numbers and what they can lose, and then actually make them understand that your pay point per month is not that much compared to what can happen to the business to then see an ROI out of it, kind of.
Yeah, I would definitely say they do understand. So on the educational side, they do understand the impact. So I don't think that is the problem. Like with the SME customers, it's usually more around, and then you say ROI, but it's still like actual money they have. They're not going to make money. Yeah, they're going to. The ROI is in the potential amount of money they're not going to lose. It's not money they're going to make, right?
Yeah.
But yes, if you show them, here's a cost-effective insurance package that will have like massive benefits if you do actually use it for like, a fair price. But yeah, for most customers, the reason they don't have it today is literally just, either, they're taking shortcuts or they are like really working on a tight budget and they just think they cannot afford it, right? Or they're not aware, like how cost effective. I mean, there are some companies that are expensive out there. We're definitely kind of, in the mid-tier place where we provide like a really high value backup solution at a really good price. But for most SMBs, it probably still boils down to like a cash flow issue for them for why they're just not doing it today.
And let's say one of the small business listen to us right now and they think they have like enough backups. Then they're like, oh, I have like one backup in my place and another hardware. Like how many backups does a business actually like kind of need to actually be secure on your idea?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I'll tell a good story. One customer we worked with is they did do backups. They were using tape. And as with kind of these physical things, the office admin took out the tape and they put it on top of the server, and they had like 2 or 3 tapes. They would put the tape out. And then unfortunately there was a break-in in the office. They stole the server and they took the tapes that was on top of the server as well. So again, like the devil's in the details. So what they may think is a backup may not be. So my definition of a backup is a backup when it's offsite, duplicated. So for example, in our instance, our backup solution would look at the data on your server. It would compress and condense it down to just the changes. We call it a block level Delta backup. And then only those changes are sent to our cloud server, and we rehydrate it as a full image on our backend server. And then we duplicate that to a second data center on our side. So now you literally have 3 copies. You have your original data, you have backup 1, and you have backup 2. In my world, that's a backup. Anything less, I don't count as a backup in my definition.
So everything on site is basically not backup because it's all related still to the same.
You have a fire, you have a theft, you have flooding, you have office breaking, whatever the problem is, those on-site backups are destroyed, right?
So coming back a bit on StorageHive, your business. So what's going well for that kind of business on your part? Maybe it's client service, demand. How is it going on your part?
Yes, I mean, you touched on the cybersecurity, and one of the things we are definitely doing, because on the backup side, it's more what do you call it, reactive. And now we actually are also onboarding several cybersecurity solutions ourselves, so we can be more preventative. And the main reason we're driving that is because what's happening in the industry. A lot of the ransomware guys now, what they're doing is they actually not before they encrypt your data, they actually make a copy to their servers. Then they encrypt it. And now the ransomware note you get is like, pay us out. And if you don't, it's not just, oh, well, I can recover from my backups. It's, oh, okay, if you're not going to pay, we're going to release all your personal data on the dark web. So, credit card numbers and personal information, business secrets, all that kind of stuff, right? Yeah. So the hackers are even like upping their game, which means we need to up our game. So yeah, we're definitely moving upstream with our services, and we're adding on a significant effort with adding like a preventative cybersecurity layer in front of the backup. So it's kind of like back to the insurance analogy. We usually just sold life insurance. Now we're selling critical illness and and life insurance.
And
So we're kind of improving our stack as well.
do you guys do like MSP too at the same time? Or I know you manage the cloud, but do you do MSP as another business angle too? Or you
Yeah,
always
so
do?
typically, yes, yeah, StorageHive specifically how we go to market,
Yeah.
and it's just the nature of myself and the other founder is we have found our go-to-market strategy is we typically work with other MSPs
Oh, okay.
to take our technology
Mm.
to market. Because other MSPs are in our ideal space, they're working with SMB customers,
Yeah.
but they are focused on, fixing printers and upgrading servers and swapping out laptops, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And our specialty is that kind of like back office, monitoring the backups, installing it, making sure it's running. If a backup fails, we investigate, we fix the problem. So we partner closely with MSPs so that they can resell our services and they can focus on what they're good at is like working with the actual end customer on their day-to-day, computer needs. And they can use our professionally managed backup and cybersecurity solutions. So
Nice.
so yeah, we kind of closely work with MSPs to go to market.
On like cybersecurity side or just security of business, how important is it to have a good MSP? Does it do a big difference between just a normal MSP and then someone that's good MSP into the cybersecurity section on your part? Do you think like it
Also,
matters or?
yeah, I know what you're asking. So I would answer it this way because we're focused now on onboarding cybersecurity technology within our stack. From our MSP partner, the kind of key thing we need from them is just a good relationship with their customer.
Okay.
So they can actually have access to the systems and deploy our technology.
Okay.
And in fact, I would say, if they've not been like good on cybersecurity and backups with the customers, they've been mostly fixing on just hardware upgrades, then actually we're a really good partner for them because now they're more valuable
Yeah.
to their SMB client, right? And typically, those MSPs, the customers that work with them, they don't have like a second MSP doing something. They usually have one IT person, right, that does everything. But if that MSP has mostly been focused on just the hardware and like Office 65 stuff, they've typically not like provided the backup or cybersecurity offering, right?
I understand. So what's on the flip side the biggest challenges of the business right now?
So I would say not really a challenge, but just kind of like where we're at. I mean, we're self-funded and organically growing. We're not looking for investors for growth. So it's kind of the classic thing, if you are growing organically, it does take a little bit more extra hours and work to kind of keep on growing and find new customers.
Yeah.
And we're plugging away. And, if we double revenue in the next year, it would be like a good goal to shoot for.
So that was actually my next question. Is that the big goal of the business, doubling the revenue?
Yeah, that would be a good goal for next year, especially if we can grow it organically. And it kind of like goes back to the original story, like why did I get into business in the first place, right? It's been fun. So I mean, a lot of people, the classic story is like, hey, get into real estate, right? Everybody knows you buy a house or rent it out.
Yeah.
But I'm an IT guy, so I think, well, what's the equivalent of that, right? And it's like, hey, it's have a data center that you can rent out to customers and you get the monthly recurring revenue.
Yeah.
And because it's like a little bit easier than real estate, you're basically building a money printing machine, right? At the end of the day, that has some kind of recurring revenue. And if that's the business model you're going after, and if the engine underneath it is technology wise, that's where I like to operate.
Would that be one of your goals to actually have a data center at some point?
So right now we co-locate with major co-location because that's their wheelhouse and expertise.
Yeah.
If we grow big enough to the point where it justifies to, because there's a lot of things like generators and UPSs and massive air conditioners. It's quite a bit of infrastructure, and then you're kind of like in real estate, right?
Yeah.
Appreciate if you're doing data centers, basically just a special building, right?
Yeah.
And I do prefer the flexibility of like just being able to be in multiple data centers co-located for redundancy and different reach for my customers. So I personally doubt I would get into like permanent data center stuff. It's for us more convenient just to co-locate with great providers.
Nice, but I guess it could just be another goal just in 5 years or 10 years if Oracle didn't just build all of them and then you just rent from Oracle
Yeah, I
directly.
mean, with all the AI stuff, taking off, and data center real estate is getting
Yeah,
like a bit of a premier price at the moment.
it
There,
is.
there could be a bit. I wouldn't say like never, never, but yeah, right now we're co-locating with major ISPs.
Nice. So for the listeners who maybe wants to connect with you guys, where could they reach you the best?
Yeah, so we have a website, StorageHive, and so it's storage like space,
Yeah.
hive like a beehive. .io is our main website, and our main contact email on there is just simply info@storagehive.io, and myself, my business partner, is on that email list, and that's the easy way to reach us.
There you go. So thanks again, Jacques. I really like the conversation.
Yeah, excellent. It was good questions, and hopefully your customers learn something from this. They'll call us for
Oh,
backups.
they for sure will. Have a good day.
Thank you.